So I think we can start. Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining this first part of our planned Signet Menswear Symposium. This is the first of our series. This one tackling Ivy style, as the name suggests, and how to dress or how to build your wardrobe for this style. So we've gathered 4 individuals that we believe best represent Ivy styling in the Philippines. Let's begin. First off is Monchet Olives. Monchet is quite a character, Signet's resident uncle. If you've been around Rockwell, I'm sure you've spotted him. He's the guy usually in his many barbors and vibrant scarves and pocket squares. Next, Jericho De Guzman, better known as Pinoy Prep, as his online persona. He's relatively new to the Instagram scene, but he's been dressing Ivy ever since the beginning, ever since it arrived in the Philippines. The 70s, correct, Sir Jericho?
80s naman.
80s. Sorry about that.
Next, I was born in the 70s.
In the 70s. Next is Sam Reyes. He's our petrol head and lover of all things Americana. His work as an architect and as a contractor often see him switch from wearing classic American workwear one day and Ivy preppy style the next. And lastly, Anton Miranda, stylist, writer, and talented chef. These are just a few things we could use to describe Anton. He's best known, though, as amongst fans of menswear in the Philippines as the foremost expert on Ivy styling, I think. To him, Ivy is more than a way of dressing. It's a lifestyle. All right. Those are speakers. Wait, let me just add everyone. Now, on to the discussions at hand. First off, we wanted to tackle the history of Ivy styling, or how Ivy styling started in the Philippines, and we could have Anton start off.
All right, so Ivy styling in the Philippines. I feel like because if you look back at history, Ivy style has been there. Ivy style comes from the United States. So the strongest, the most, I guess, like what's been documented is it's been there as early as the 1920s. So Ivy League schools, that's the term Ivy style, were the people who, students in Ivy League schools were the people who originated this style. And so that transitioned, years went by. We're gonna go with that. We're gonna talk about that later, but in the Philippines, I feel like more than Ivy style, it's preppy that's hit the Philippines. And we can talk about that with our speakers later, Jericho and Monchet, how preppy style impacted the Philippines, not only as a way of dress, not only as a classic way of dress, but it actually became a trend. So I feel like preppy style is something memorable with people in that who like to dress up during that time. And I feel like as it transcended through like the years that followed, we have people who like myself, and I feel like Sam as well, who have gone through the more traditional aspects of Ivy style. What is preppy, what is Ivy style, and what are the differences between the two?
Actually, yeah, Anton, I wanted to ask about that because I'm relatively unaware of what Ivy styling and prep meant, if there was a distinction at all. Could we define what the differences are between Ivy and prep?
All right. There's a very thin line between the two. And I feel like the most accurate way to differentiate the two is through time periods. So again, this style originated in the 1920s, Ivy League schools. This became even more prominent in the 1950s, the 1960s. Ivy style had a huge, in fact, the term Ivy had a huge, it became very popular in the 1960s. The way Ivy League students dressed, it became a trend of sorts. So let's just use that as a starter. So Ivy League style became a trend in the 1960s. And so the years that followed, Ivy style in a way became lost, it became passe. People wanted something different. And so we entered the 80s. The 80s, I feel, is the peak of preppy. And so where did the term preppy come from? Preppy comes from the term preparatory schools, which is also related to Ivy style, which comes from Ivy League schools. So preparatory schools, these are private schools where students in the US studied. So this became a trend as well in the 80s. So now nobody called Ivy style. People called Ivy style preppy, but they also had their interpretation of it. And so whereas Ivy style is more traditional, the colors are more muted. The the style is basically more traditional. It's based on classic pieces. It's based on traditional colors. Preppy, it's a more youthful
It's
way.
louder, Anton.
Louder.
The colors are louder.
Louder. It's more playful. It breaks more.
You have go to hell pants.
Go to hell pants.
Yeah.
And I feel like we'd have a pretty good discussion about preppy later. Like what causes preppy to be preppy? What causes preppy to be different from Ivy? And I feel like input from Jericho and Moncha would be great for this.
If I may, I think the way to differentiate the two is that Anton is right. Preppy is really the sportswear of Ivy. That's the way you would look at it. I mean, there's that iconic photo of JFK in Hyannisport, right? With Jackie, on boat shoes, wearing a polo shirt and chinos, and Jackie in her cashmere top, right, with her button and her big sunglasses. That preppy style is associated with that type of dress down, as compared to Ivy style, which is the professorial, Mr. Robinson's type dress, the tweed jacket, the pipe, right? The necktie, the button down, right? And the pair of flannel slacks, right? And Ouijas and bats, as compared to as we said, the go to hell look, go to hell pants in preppy, the tartans, the madrasas. And we were all talking about it earlier, and then Jericho, you can butt in. It's like the preppy handbook, right? It's like everything that you see in the preppy handbook, the copies of this world. That was what preppy was about, and that's what really hit the Philippines. And if I may to add to Anton's history, remember we had a Commonwealth period, and during the American occupation, and that's where the Americana became part and parcel of our look, because as Indios, we were wearing our version of a barong. Then the Americana became part of that. That's why in the north, for example, the hill station of Baguio, you would see a lot of tweed jackets. You would see a lot of these things worn with traditional bahag, because that's how they imbibe, because the Americans would come up to Baguio for this. So if there's anything that would be Ivy-ish, it would be during the Commonwealth period. For us, me being, I think I was just looking at the people who are joining, being kind of the tito of the group, we've gone through this whole pattern of clothing, and really the preppy style has evolved so much. But it's really that it's the sport shirt, the chinos, the sailing shoes, like Eddie and I were talking about. I mean, we used to save money to buy our Sebagos and Sperry Top Siders in Green Hills, di ba? Para naka-Sperry tayo na iba-ibang kulay. Then yung mga chinos, pag nagbabiyahe, then yung polo shirt, Lacoste shirt. So, that, as compared to the Ivy, yung pag nagja-jacket na tayo, nagbo-bottom down, di ba? So, iba yung view ko dyan. So, just to add to the view of Anton about separating the two. Historically, the Philippines, we had it, but it wasn't so there. It's really more, we really have to differentiate Ivy and Preppy, which Anton did. And maybe you guys can add to this. Jericho, what's your view? I mean, us being the elders here, pinagdaanan natin to eh. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah.
All clear, Jingo.
Go. Hi.
While Jingo, Jingo, is it all good?
Are you good? Are you there? It's Jigo, right? So Jigo, are you there?
I have
Hello, Sir Jericho.
Oh, busy lang. If I may interject lang.
If I may, Sir Rafi wanted to ask a question. He wanted to discuss the basic elements of Ivy style versus the luxury and extreme luxury versions of these Ivy style elements.
If I may add something to this whole discussion about preppy and Ivy, I feel like preppy and Ivy style in general, both aesthetics, I think they're both deeply rooted in conservatism.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't wear preppy or Ivy to flaunt. You wear preppy or Ivy because it's good quality. You will things that you will repeat outfits with these pieces of clothing because they are just that good. This is
like a uniform.
And I feel like yes, there are more designers, luxury brands have adapted preppy and Ivy style to suit their brand. But if we're talking about preppy and Ivy style in essence, these are very simple things. These are the hand-me-downs from your family. These are the pants that you wore in school that have shrunk. That's why there's a bit of space between the foot and the hem.
Actually.
It's a very
heritage brands.
Heritage. It's about just choosing good quality over quantity. Choosing that standard. It's never been about flaunting.
Yeah, Anton is right. I think the whole idea is that it's worn through. It's not. It's like my joke about shirt with butas. It's like it's worn through. You've as you said, it's a hand me down, passed it down.
Yeah.
It's really a lot of it is. That's why vintage is so in, because people are buying.
They like the wear and tear.
Yeah, into the halo effect of I've had this forever. You know what I mean? You're buying into a heritage because and that's why vintage is so chic now.
Yeah.
Right. And that plays up to what Anton is saying, which is really what I do and that style is about.
Yeah.
Pieces like that.
Yeah, so piggybacking off that idea, Ivy style has some, roots in the 1920s. Because there was this idea of aristocratic style. No, there's a certain style back then where, um, in a nutshell, the idea is to look so rich for so long that you don't even have to flaunt it anymore. There are trends where Yale students back then, when they get their new Oxford shirts, they would actually sandpaper the edges of their collars just so the phrase would come out, just for that worn out look. So there's a certain
Parang mukhang gamit na, pare.
Yeah, parang di ba Ralph Lauren came out with those with a series na they were buttoned down na may suit, may parang tahi-tahi in the
Yeah.
corridor, di ba? May mga
Yeah.
here, tahi-tahi there to give it that vintage feel.
That's why I was so happy when some of my Oxford shirts, when the fraying started, everybody was like, "Oh, you gotta get a new one," and then I'm like, "Oh no, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I wanted. This is like a grail status right there."
Because usually the context for that is that, I don't know if you mentioned this already, Sam, but the context is that students in Ivy League schools would often get into better clubs the more beaten up their Oxford cloth shirts.
Yeah. Kasi that's sort of the look, eh. They're trying to show that they've been wearing these clothes for so long that it's natural to them. The equivalent of an OCBD, an Oxford collar button down shirt, to them back then as collegiate wear, is the same context as somebody in college now in the 21st century would wear a hoodie. They just beat it up. They just wear it every day. Wear it with shorts, wear it with jeans, wear it with khakis. That's the idea. There's a appeal to patina.
Sam, buti nang sinabi mo yung OCBD kasi hindi ko alam ano yun eh.
Oxford cloth button down.
I did
Oxford collar
I
button
didn't
down.
even know what it was. I thought it's like me, I'm medyo OC na. Thank you. I learned something new today. So
Now, a lot of Ivy elements are taken from these pieces, these items, which are basically, I wouldn't say antiquated, but hail from a
heritage,
yeah,
dear boy.
from a heritage. Yeah, exactly. May I ask though, like,
You make us oldies like dinosaurs, man.
no, not at all. I like those old stuff. But may I ask my
One, have you more?
may I ask the speakers what they think, or rather whether Ivy style is still relevant in the contemporary world.
Okay, before everybody starts, let me put this in perspective. As a style writer, I think style is forever, fashion is fleeting. Okay, so relevance is a matter of where you are. As Anton was saying, we have a common friend, Bermon, who's quite deep, and he told me, Manchet, you are a product of your time. All of us are a product of our time. So what we are at a certain point of time, that where we peak, maybe now at my age, I'm hitting 60, maybe I peaked at 35, 36, I have no idea. But that's where you find your sense of being, sense of style. And you will be like that as the things go along. And that's where you need to draw from inspiration. The Pinterest is one way, but let me frame that question that way so that the rest of my kasignats I can answer. Sorry, plugging. Sorry, I can
Nice.
and can put it in that perspective. I think it's an easier way to look at it. So we have Jericho back. Jericho, it's Bingle ba? Bingle's your nickname?
Jingo. It's Jingo. It's
Jingle, sorry.
Jingo.
Jingle. So go ahead. I mean, what's your view?
Again, as I said, actually, I went basically full IV, full preppy around probably just around 10 years ago. I tried different styles, although I've said that the preppy IV style has always been there. But syempre, when you're young, you try to wear what's in, diba? And but eventually, when as what Monch was saying, when you get old, um, your taste would ano na eh, would be more defined. And as I was saying, I've always been wearing preppy and IV stuff. So I just went back and decided that this is the style for me. And as I've said before, it's timeless. So what I'm wearing now, probably I'll wear it up until I'm dead. Yeah.
Sorry if I may interject. Joseph Garcia was asking what we can say about the transatlantic Anglo-Saxon influences in present Ivy clothing.
My God, Seth, pinahirapan mo kami, ha?
Malalim yun.
Malalim mo naman. Sabi ko, Seth, by the way, is going to write about this in his column.
I'd actually
writer.
like to answer that question
Very good.
because I feel like it's gonna template the rest of our discussion today. So let's look at it from a very technical perspective. Preppy Ivy style. This is something that specifically originates from East Coast students of the United States, white. Let's go to the acronym WASP, White
Saxon Protestants.
So what does that mean? These are a certain type of people. The WASP, the term WASP is actually it's meant to mock these people. This is not a compliment. This is meant to mock these white guys who are in prep schools. These are like
Parang ano yun, Anton? Burgis.
Burgis. Okay, I mean, okay, let's be more crass with this. These are trust fund babies. These are people who have been spoiled by their parents, have been sent to the best schools, who spend their summers in vacation houses, traveling around, who get quality clothing and they think it's so cheap when in fact it's actually something that a middle class person would strive for. So we're talking about this specific demographic of people. This is from the very technical perspective of it. So how does the transatlantic how does transatlanticism in general translate to Ivy? It is Ivy. It is what started Ivy. And as much as you hate the origins of Preppy or Ivy, there are a lot of negative connotations with it. There's a lot of race included. There's a lot of classism included. These are upper class people. At the end of the day, we are getting our style inspiration from these upper class people, from these upper class white people. And so now that the years have gone by, and a lot of us, I am a Filipino who has not gone to an Ivy League school. I'm Catholic, not Protestant. Why am I so into Ivy style? I feel like this is...
Uy, Anton, Protestant ako.
And that's great. You fit one letter of the WASP acronym. Then, so ano to, how do we deal with that? Like, okay, so does that mean we're all posers? Does that mean that we don't fit that style, that identity that Preppy or Ivy style has given us? I don't think so, because I feel like with any style, there is an evolution, and I feel that with Preppy and Ivy style, it's definitely evolved. the fact that from the 1960s when it was called Ivy to the 80s when it was called Preppy, and I'm sure age group would say that, hey, my mom, use my mom as an example. My mom used to dress super preppy back then, but she doesn't dress preppy anymore because it's not she's very trendy, and it was a trend before, but it's not a trend now. So preppy had a specific peak in the 80s, and I feel like not just here in the Philippines, I feel like worldwide, it was definitely like a cultural phenomenon of sorts. It was a trend. People wanted to be preppy. And now that brands like, let's say, the brand that comes top of mind is Rowing Blazers. Rowing Blazers was founded by Jack Carlson, who graduated from an Ivy League school, who is traditionally classified as a prep or as an Ivy guy, but he has made the intention to break away from that stereotype. He has included he's included models of different races to model in his clothing brand. He's made an effort to transcend preppy into streetwear, into other genres of style. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's good to pay respect to the transatlantic origin of Ivy, because I mean, whichever style you're going at, it's always great to start at the origins of it, to learn the history, to learn the rules. But at the end of the day, it's just a way of dress. You get to decide what you want to wear, you break the rules, and that's how you make Ivy or preppy style work for you.
Anton,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anyone here is really, I mean, hardcore preppy, hardcore Ivy. I mean,
besides Anton hardcore Ivy. Actually, I'd like to expand on that, Anton. Basically, for you, I'm not buttering you up or anything, but for you, Ivy really is more than just a way of dress. So what would you classify as, an Ivy lifestyle? What is an Ivy lifestyle? Like yacht clubs or like golf? Or what is an Ivy lifestyle?
Go.
It's great that you opened up this question, because this is something that I particularly wanted to talk about in this talk. We were discussing a while ago about the history, the technicalities of preppy versus Ivy. And it's so easy to go on Wikipedia and Google the origins and the traditions of preppy and Ivy style, and they will definitely point you to the same things. Again, these are like East Coast Americans who have gone to private schools, preparatory schools. They summer in Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, the Hamptons. This is a very white privilege American way of dress. So how do you translate that to the Philippine context? So the reason why I actually find Ivy and Happy style very relatable is it's because it relates to how I grew up. It relates to what I experienced as a child up till now. And that's why I'd like to give certain details that perhaps some of you guys might be like, oh, hey, I did that when I was younger. That relates to me. I'm not going to talk about Martha's Vineyard. I'm not going to talk about Nantucket. I'm not going to talk about the Hamptons. I'm going to talk about who here went to an exclusive private school for high school. Who here went to one of the top universities in the Philippines? Who here goes to summer in Baguio, checks in at Manor or Country Club, brings home Good Shepherd Choco Flakes and crinkles? Who here goes to Subic during the weekends? Who here was dressed by their mom in Lacoste shirts so that they would look proper in family events? I mean, these are things that I feel like a lot of people have experienced this. There are so much more. Who here is part of, I don't know, like a whose parents are part of Rotary Club, Polo Club, who has played sports, who is part of their varsity team in high school, and was pressured by their parents to ace their subjects while still be part of the varsity. I mean, I know that these probably might sound like very odd, far-fetched concepts to this because we're only talking about clothes, right? But again, like this isn't just for me, this isn't just about clothes. This is about lifestyle. And if you can insert that lifestyle aspect into clothes, that just makes it the more authentic, that just makes it the more original, and that just makes it the more better, I guess.
Actually, Anton, going back, you mentioned early on there's East Coast Ivy, so that's originally where Ivy style as we know it came from. But you also mentioned before when we were talking, there's a lot of branches of Ivy style. There's West Coast, there's French.
So I don't think I'd call it Ivy style anymore. Because Ivy, strictly speaking, is very East Coast.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk about preppy. So there's preppy is very regional. We have the American preppy. So you have the East Coast preppy who wear their Shetland sweaters, their Oxford cloth button downs. And going back to Ivy, I just like to point out that the Ivy style, which comes from the Ivy League, it originates from Ivy League schools, and these schools are all based in the West Coast. I mean, in the East Coast. So there's in the East Coast. So there's that bias that the Ivy League way of dress is very East Coast. Let's look at another college, another prominent college like Stanford in the West Coast. Stanford is not considered Ivy by technical definition because it's not part of the East Coast. So let's look at things that affect these regional takes on preppy. So let's look at West Coast preppy. The weather in the West Coast, it's a lot warmer. The lifestyle there is more relaxed. So they've adapted a more relaxed way of dressing. I feel like at the end of the day, Ivy or preppy style is about looking presentable. It's about relying on classic pieces. And I think like a good example I could give is like the Beach Boys of the 1960s. They presented themselves as these like prim and proper guys that you bring home to your mom. They sing songs. They're these boys next door, and they're into surfing. They're into the beach. These are things that are not popular in the East Coast because of the weather conditions. Surfing in the 1960s actually became a micro trend in terms of Ivy style. There was because let's go back to the technical definition. If you're part of this demographic, you have the time to spend time at the beach. You enjoy time at the beach. You have hobbies like surfing or swimming. You have water sports. So these people had the privilege and time of surfing. And that's how that connected to preppy and Ivy style. So going beyond actually one thing I'd also like to talk about really quick is the Southern take on Ivy style or preppy. So the East Coast, that is technically the North. We're talking about the Northeast. Now, when you go down to the Carolinas, you go down to Florida, you go down to Tennessee. This is the South. And the South actually has a warmer climate compared to the North, which is very cold. But they've adapted pretty much the same principles. The South is very outdoorsy. The South is there's a lot of agriculture, there's a lot of outdoor activities, and that influences preppy in a way that instead of like the suits, so think of New York preppy as very gray flannel suit, dress shirts, rep ties, and then I guess if they want to be casual, they'd put on like a Shetland sweater, a cable knit sweater. We go to the South where it's all about hunting. It's all about water sports. So you're looking for more casual pieces that offer more versatility. So we're talking about cargos. Cargos are a big thing in the South. A lot of brands that are distinctly Southern have popped out, like Billy Reid, Southern Tide. Go to Hell pants are also a thing where they've if you look at the embroidery of certain Go to Hell pants, they put like cotton plants or
Castaway clothing.
yeah, castaway clothing, exactly. You have like golden retrievers or guns or game birds in their chinos. That pays an homage to like the hunting tradition of the South. And so I think that's another thing that I want to put attention to. But besides the American perspective of it, we have the French, we have the Italian. I'm not so much an expert on these European takes on Ivy, but they have their own takes on this way of dress, which is basically looking very presentable but also relaxed.
Hello. There's this recent trend. It's called French Ivy. Now, you've seen it in PT1, you've seen it being stated in news, but it's never actually been expounded upon. Pero I believe Sam actually knows a thing or two about this. Sam?
Oh no! I mentioned earlier that this is actually the topic that eluded me. French Ivy. This is something that I am more of the Japan Ivy side, so I'm not the expert to ask on French Ivy.
But for the most part, Sam, what Anton mentioned, how your Ivy style, how you apply your Ivy style to where you are or what
Yeah.
you do. In your case, you're a lover of vintage cars, vintage motorcycles.
Yeah.
So it only made sense for you to also wear, 60s Americana.
Yeah, so the funny thing about that is not all classic cars are considered Ivy or preppy. It also varies from West Coast and East Coast. So if we're gonna talk about cars, most of the West Coast side, these are in the 60s. You're thinking about American hot rods, 32 Fords, 33 Ford Roadsters, Deuce Coupes, people in American Graffiti, Beach Boys in a nutshell. So these are things, this is the Western 60s style, no? But you wouldn't call this Ivy. Ivy is more, Ivy and Preppy were more European influenced. So some Preppy cars or Ivy cars would be European two-door sports cars like a Triumph or an MG or a Jaguar Roadster. These are very preppy because again, in the context of privilege, like what Anton said earlier, historically speaking, these people who enter these schools are, they come from very well-off families, so they get to afford these exotic cars. There's a saying where if you're young and you want to enjoy a preppy car, it's you're looking at European roadsters. But once you have a family, you're looking at old Land Rovers and ever so favorite Jeep Wagoneer. The big SUV with the wood panels on the side. Or in Japanese cars, in more modern context, you're looking at the Japanese Land Cruiser. These are what in a context of like what these people would be buying, would drive. So that's more of the lifestyle. In relevance to how I apply it, I like to dress on the same era of the car that I drive. So we currently have a 55 and 56 Ford Thunderbird. So that's a two-door convertible, and I like to dress very 50s. I like to wear the madras shirts. I like to wear seersucker. I like to wear camp collar shirts, and I also have a 68 Torino. So when I drive that, you have to understand that I like context is a very important factor for me. Like if I were to ride a Harley Davidson, I wouldn't be wearing a pink Oxford shirt. That would be a little awkward. So something, something. I wouldn't be driving a pink Oxford shirt with a big smile on my face. No, so the context of preppy and motorcycles, you're looking at, well, maybe you can say a Vespa, a Lambretta, or maybe a European BSA, or maybe an old Triumph. So in terms of applying it to lifestyle, I always interject style with context. Yeah, so that's just basically it in a nutshell. Style with context.
Sort of period dressing.
Yeah, period dressing, definitely. Because it would be awkward. Yun nga, it would be awkward to see madras shorts, penny loafers on a Road King Harley. So you know what I mean? It doesn't work.
Wait, sorry. JP Persoza was asking how IV style was first adapted in the Philippines. I believe Sir Jericho De Guzman can answer that. Sir Jericho?
Um, Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I transferred rooms kasi the Wi-Fi is bad. Well, again, as I was saying, I grew up in the 80s, and I think that was when the preppy handbook came out. So ako personally, based on my style, that's where I basically got the style from. Here in the Philippines, during that time, as I was saying in our discussion kanina, there wasn't much to rely on. Ako, I was lucky enough. I had two older brothers who, when I was growing up, when I was in high school, they were basically in college already. And, I saw them wearing topsiders, Lacoste t-shirts, and Levi's jeans. So, in a way, I just followed them. As I've said, for me, my thing was it was a trial and error thing. So it's just the past last 10 years that I really developed the preppy and the IV style. And during that time, kasi when I was growing up, there was no internet. There was if you wanted to go preppy, to go IV, basically you had to travel abroad, go to the States, and that's where you see it from. Also, as I've said, I have older brothers. We were lucky enough during when we were growing up. My two brothers subscribed to GQ, the magazine, so it was being mailed to our house. So, in a way, I saw how you should be wearing clothes at an early age.
Jingle, if I may add to that,
Yes.
if you look at the Ralph Lauren 2021 spring lookbook,
Mm.
it's it is American prep. It is all about the WASP lifestyle. However, they interjected the brightness of it, especially their Capri collection. They had yellow and orange and pink. But much of the stuff that you see is really classic prep. I mean, they're talking about hoodies and shorts and sneakers. Remember when we were growing up, we all had these colored sneakers, right? I mean, these
Yeah.
white sneakers. Then we had socks. I mean, somebody will talk about socks later, but uh, I don't I don't subscribe to socks except when in the winter. It has to be what's that? Bresciano, Bresciani, or whatever that
Mm.
is. I didn't even know what that brand was until Signet carried it because we just bought it on sale in Milan. Margie said, "Oh, look at this! It's so cheap. You buy it now." Joke, joke, Signet. Anyway, so the point is that the issue of style the issue of preppiness, everything's coming back. If you Ralph Lauren is the epitome. If he himself during his what is that? His big defile, how many years of that? That big fashion show he did was a homage to what he believes America should be. Right? And I think that if you look at the new collection captures that. The Americana of the heyday, the 60s and 70s, the hip era when things were, it was the Vietnam War, people were, it is a statement against what is happening right now in America, for that matter. For us here in the Philippines, I feel like in my case, um, I went through a roller coaster in understanding style. As I said earlier in our pre-briefing, my father's Spanish, so the exposure to color early on and wearing ascots and color was all very part and parcel to me. Wearing shorts, these short shorts, because Spaniards don't wear long shorts. They don't wear Bermudas. Americans wear Bermudas. I mean, Spaniards don't. They wear mid-length shorts, which is what you're seeing now in, let's say, a brand like Orlebar Brown.
Mhm.
What is it? Setter or Bulldog, something, one of those. But that is or Vilbrican. I mean, Vilbriquin. I was corrected by the people of Vilbriquin. It's Vilbriquin. So, I mean, it's like, that's the kind of style that you're looking at. Um, and where we are is really a matter. I will tell everybody, all 49 of us, minus the organizers and us speakers, that what you wear is a matter of your taste. The Ivy life or the prep life is really a matter of lifestyle. And Anton is correct. Anton lives it. I mean, I see him in his hunter boots. Tama ba, Anton? Hunter?
Yeah,
Hunter.
100%. Or
Hunter boots.
MLB boots.
Yeah, but look at him. He rides a horse. He has dog. He goes through creeks. He goes and watches chickens being slaughtered. I mean, it's like it is. I just had to say it because we're all guys here. I think there's one, but I say, but you see, my point is that it is a lifestyle. Dressing is a lifestyle. If not, you wouldn't be here. If not, it's all fashion. Fashion is big labels and wanting to be in the left to right. Nobody here in this page right now. I just looked at all your names. You are not left to right, as they say in my business. You're under the radar, but you are fashion. You are style trendsetters. So, having said that, Dawn, I suggest you pick up from what I said.
No, I saw a question here. JP Versosa reworded his question. Actually, what I meant, how Ivy style adapted to the Philippines, like Southern prep and West Coast prep was developed. I think for me, we were discussing this kanina.
Yeah.
The weather has to do a lot
Yeah.
of it.
Tama.
Weather.
You see that in the magazines, in IG or wherever, that people wear, the preps wear trench coats, jackets, they layer up. But here, as for me, the way I've adopted, it's basically collared shirts and popovers and OCBDs and khaki pants. And he's
Jericho.
also asking if there's a Filipino prep.
Mhm.
For the most part, Sir Jericho, I wanna
Yes.
expand on that because
Yeah.
we all know it's the Philippines. Hot weather is hot, and as much as we'd like to layer and dress up in tweed jackets, well, no, no offense, Sam, but as much as we'd like to dress in tweed jackets and layer and wear vests, we can't because the Philippine climate limits us. Now, if I may ask all of you Anton, Sir Jericho, Sam, and Tito Mon. How would you dress? How do you apply Ivy slash preppy styling, and especially now that we're in EQ again? How do you wear? How do you still dress in this manner, despite all the despite all the
Ako kasi pare, I am only allowed by my wife and my son to go to work only twice a week before this big surge in the cases of coronavirus hit. So it made me more excited to go to the office and dress up. Before, because I was doing it every day, wearing OCBDs, chinos, and loafers without socks. It's like now it's for me it's doing it only once to twice a week. It's something big for me now. So I really try to you know dress as most properly, going to the office as much as I can, because it will take me another few days before I can dress up again.
for you, Tito Mon? For the most part, you're the only one I know who layers.
Well, Dawn, I dress up every morning. I get up, my clothes are prepared for the week. If I am going to work or not for my consultancies, I line up my clothes and I get dressed and I go out. I feel like that movie of Jack Nicholson when he was a retiree, because I really feel that way. I can't remember the age. March, what's the name of that movie? Um, yeah, no, not. Anyway, it was this movie that he was a retired, and he kind of got dressed up every day and did something. I do that every day. I get dressed all the way down for a Zoom call. It just gives me a sense of that I'm doing something. And I also am not allowed, especially now, where I live. Santis is in the same building, so I don't go beyond Santis. I will go to the mall. If I go, it will only be up to Signet and back, and it has to be early before human beings start arriving. So it's like I really control myself because my comorbidity rate is quite high considering my health issues. So to answer your question is that I dress every day, all the way up to my shoes, and I lay it out every day. I don't want to change. And as we said, my style is, as you guys know, it's quite dandyish. It's quite, but I've toned down quite a lot. I did this just for showbiz. Wear a tartan jacket, wear a flouncy pocket square, just because we're in Zoom and you don't see half of what I'm wearing. I'm in boxer shorts and briefs down here, so it's like, so I mean, and that's my answer to that. Is that I just don't want to change the way I do things. I don't want. I want to be able to wear my trousers. I want to do this, even if I'm just walking around my apartment or walking down to the lobby to get something from Lazada or the food delivery or something. I was kidding you earlier that sometimes if I go down in a rush, I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts, I put on a jacket, I have to check if I'm decent, halfway decent to go down. So I leave it at that. I said, if it's a matter of styling, I'm not changing. It's the way we are, and we have to live this way. But I will tell you one thing though. I was talking to a guy from Ralph Lauren. He works with the design production group. He's quite senior. He's out of New York, and he says that they're redoing their entire production to get ready for this whole lounge wear type approach. That's why if you look at the SS21 lineup, a lot of it is very, very casual. They don't expect America, especially, to go back to that I don't know about the rest of Europe. I wish you're right, Anton. I wish Berman was with us because Berman can give you first eye view of what Rome is looking like right now. But I leave it at that. Anton, I throw it to you.
Ito, if we could segue into building an IV wardrobe, I believe a lot of our attendees want to know what are the staples for
Well,
every.
let me throw this to maybe to Jericho and to Sam. I mean, if there were 5 things that you needed to have in a basic IV wardrobe, what would they be? I mean, something that is accessible in this country, something that will and is usable in this country.
Yep.
Given it's either it's hot, hotter, or extremely wet, right? So I mean, what are 5 pieces that you can own affordably or manageably? Anton and I are thrifters in a kind of way. I thrift on eBay. Anton thrifts, but I thrift on eBay quite a lot. But I mean, and this is something that we like to do. You can even thrift this. I mean, you can eBay it to give you that feeling of that halo effect. So guys, please help me.
All right. If I could start, building a wardrobe, just like in the chat box, Ping Medrano mentioned that context is truly king. So to build an efficient wardrobe, you need to be buying things that that contextually you'll be using a lot. So it depends on your lifestyle, on your career. For example, me as someone who works more in the construction field, I would lean more on the key items that are comfortable to wear. I'd probably go more with khakis, uh, an Oxford collar button down, or an OCBD as we mentioned earlier, and navy blazer. That's a classic thing that I could wear on presentations or more dressy days. Uh, but if let's say you're working in a office setting or in a corporate office, then you could go the other way, like buy that mid-gray flannel trousers, or buy 3 shades of gray, light, medium, and dark of trousers. Buy that navy blazer. Maybe on the weekends buy a seersucker jacket or a sport coat, because again, it's all context. I wouldn't recommend someone to wear a sport coat if they go to the field, like the field of construction. But I would recommend something like a Barber Jacket, let's say, or maybe some hunter boots, some chukka boots, some bean boots. What was that? The duck bean boots. Something that's contextually still Ivy, but in a sense, I'm going back to my architectural roots. Function follows form in a way. So to build a wardrobe, you need to be able to use those key items every day. You need to apply it to your everyday life. And then from there, you already have a starting point. So if I were more in the field, okay, so what would be a preppy or a IV styling? Somebody, what's country wear, what's outdoor wear, what kind of boots, what kind of khakis, heavy duty, definitely no trousers. Again, we're going back. Context is truly king, like what Ting Medrano said.
Hello,
Hello, yeah.
Jericho. If you can add to that, what would you say are your top 5 items?
Hello?
Jiggle, ikaw.
Oh, me?
Yes,
Wait. Before we go to that, someone I didn't know, I was a bit cut with my signal. But someone was asking, wait. When you dress, what are you trying to convey to the world? Just repeating a question. What I mean by this is, can you say you were? Oh wait, where was I? Oh yeah, just repeating a question a while ago. Is it look based? Is it look based or brand based? You guys.
For me, it's neither. It's neither. It's how you feel.
Mhm.
Personally, it's how you feel.
Yeah. If you ask me, hindi naman ako. I'm not hardcore.
Yeah, ako rin.
So to be honest with you, to all the guys listening here, I built up my wardrobe by buying Uniqlo and Muji.
Yeah.
The OCBDs from Uniqlo and Muji are okay, and their khaki pants, the dark blue, the brown, they're all okay. Just get the regular cut ones, and buy penny loafers. GH Bass is okay. I mean, it doesn't really have to be expensive. That's for me. That's the way. Kasi I started with my clothes. I mean, with building up a wardrobe, and then eventually na lang, I pa isa-isa, I bought the expensive stuff. But for the basic, yung kumbaga, the basic stuff to wear, that's where I bought it. It's Uniqlo and Muji.
Well, Jigo, I think it's a whole concept of high-low.
Come again, Monchep?
It's a concept of high and low. You
Yeah.
get one investment piece, then you're just gonna buy a basic piece. Like I wear Uniqlo t-shirts. And then you wear a Barber Jacket, then you wear a pair of old pants that you've worn forever. I mean, it's not. It's as they in my generation it was called hindi tatak, diba?
Yeah.
Which is very much like what most people are. It's all branded. I mean, there was a question about brand and look and style. Brand is all about halo effect and acceptance. Lifestyle is all about what works for you.
Yeah, I think
So
if I may butt in kasi, Bonchet, minsan there's a connotation kasi that when you dress Ivy, it has to be expensive. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't know with the other guys.
For the most part, yeah, I agree with that, philosophy. Because as a serial thrifter myself, someone mentioned before how, Tito Mon, you mentioned before na how a lot of during the Commonwealth period, Americans settled in Baguio in the colder climates. Actually, well, I wouldn't recommend it now, but if you go into an ukay, it's crazy. I mean, the reason why ukays are so great in the Philippines, thrift stores, if no one knows what that is they don't know what they're selling, so the chances for getting deals tend to be bigger.
Correct.
I mean, I myself have found several pieces that I really love. Like one was a Givenchy olive trouser from the 80s. I believe it was part of the tailor. I found it, got it for like 400 pesos to steal. I wouldn't recommend it now, of course, but there is that wealth of groups in Facebook. We can maybe add it here, but there's a lot of groups in Facebook where you can buy secondhand stuff. Just get them properly cleaned. You don't need to spend so much money to start wearing these really nice brands, these heritage brands. So, yeah.
Going back, well, as I've said, I think once you have the basics, the foundation of the tops, the bottoms, and the shoes, right after that, pwede ka nang bumili pa isa-isa of the expensive stuff.
Yeah, agree. You need to build, like, just like in construction, a strong foundation will let you spread out to your individual style. But strong foundation is very important. And to achieve that strong foundation, you need to fall in love with the style. You need to fall in love with everything about it. Because if you're looking at IV styling as brands, like you need to have this stuff, you need to buy this expensive shirt, you need to buy these expensive shoes. It might turn away some people and just end up, just forgetting about it. But if you start accepting styling such as, you take the basics and you go to brands like Uniqlo, and then once you fall in love with this stuff, maybe, okay, I think I'm ready to invest on something better. Maybe let's go for no more Sebago, no more Baswegians. Let's go for Cordovan Aldens. You know what I mean? I really like this white OCBD. Maybe it's time for maybe
Brown.
tape press. Which is going back to Monchet's high-low sort of thing. Now, other people, they do that approach, and other people who like you guys and myself are no strangers to thrift shops and secondhand and eBay. Really want to go purist, then at a more affordable, reachable budget, then you can go that way. But I think in IV styling in itself, or styling in general, you have to fall in love with the idea to use it, because it really is a commitment. And the mere fact that you're here and discussing and you're already enthusiastic about it is already a step forward in itself. So it's a long dressing and styling is actually a long-term commitment that isn't achieved overnight with a big bank account. You know what I mean?
Sam, I mean, Eddie cracked a joke that I think I'm one of the only few in Manila that wear a barber jacket in the height of summer. But I've been wearing barber jackets. I'm close to 60. I've been wearing barber jackets since I was 40, and I was 360 pounds. So I have the biggest size of barber available. Okay, and I'm down to 40, 42. I'm down to 42 but, so I mean it's, which is big for most people, but I'm a big person. But my point is that you can find, and thrifting is an entry level into picking up that style. If you watch the first episode of The Crown in the last season, it looked like one big advertisement of the barber. So I mean, it is really, I think, essentially, if there is an investment piece beyond something that, beyond Uniqlo, beyond Sebago, beyond traffic, beyond all of that, would be a barber jacket. Barber last season came out, I mean, Uniqlo, for example, last season came out with the Fox Barber.
Mm.
It was a wax jacket with thing. It was Uniqlo, but who cares?
Mhm.
As long as you accept that style and are ready to make that investment. Unlike fashion, where you have to change every season,
Yeah.
where
Kaya
we
nga, Monchet, if I may cut you, that's if you go with the IV style, actually it will turn out cheaper.
yeah,
Because your clothes, as I've said, it will last you a lifetime. You can wear it up until you die. I told my wife, if ever you bury me in my OCBDs, khakis, and loafers.
well, it's like I have a very good Swiss friend, and he told me, he says, when he's a Swiss banker, he says he has only 2 pairs of shoes. He had the shoes made. Okay, he paid 5,000 euros for the shoes, but he uses it all his life
There's an appeal to patina.
and has it resold. So parang it's like something which is not very Filipino, di ba? Because we like plenty things, because also of our summer, di ba? May pawis tayong paa natin. So, pero this is really so different. Yun. Pero tama ka, Jingle.
Jingo, hindi jingle.
Jingoy. That's why it's the first
No,
time.
not with a Y. Jingo.
Jingoy.
Jingle, if I may interject lang, no?
Yeah.
If I may interrupt. You mentioned na you want to be buried in your preppy attire. Siguro, we can put a note on that na let's not bury you in go to hell pants because that's not you want to. That's not where we want to end up. You know what I mean?
Ako okay lang ako. Okay lang ako. Iconoclastic ako eh. So okay lang sa akin.
So,
Guys,
yeah,
if we
Anton.
get on to our last segment
Yeah.
or Q&A. Actually, Sir Ed had a question. Hi guys, top brands for Ivy. If we can start with you, Anton, what would your top brands for Ivy or preppy styling be?
Top brands for Ivy. Right. I'm gonna base this on the most I've been purchasing from.
Mm-hmm.
So first is definitely J Press.
Mm-hmm.
So as of recent times, J Press has been doing really good. I've been getting from the J Press US site. So not to sponsor anything, but Signet carries the J Press Japanese line.
Thank you.
I actually prefer the US line. It fits my size better, and the style is more classic. You could say it's a bit more boring, but I also feel it's a bit more versatile. The Signet Japan line is more playful. It's a bit more youthful.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot more character to it, which is great. But if you're starting out, getting from them for investment pieces, then I highly recommend getting the J Press US line. Second is Individualized Shirts. So Signet carries that as well. So we talked about essentials for the Ivy style or preppy wardrobe, and I think Oxford shirts are a very crucial element of that. I have tried many Oxford shirts. I've tried Ralph Lauren, I've tried Brooks Brothers, and so far my favorites are from J Press and from Individualized. J Press, the issue with them is they cater to American sizing. So if you're Filipino or you're Asian, the length might be too long, but the width is just right. You want it to be a bit balloony. You want the sleeves to fall a bit beyond the shoulders. You want there to be enough room to cuff your sleeves. And so that's the J Press line. The Individualized line, luckily Signet offers a made to order option. You can go to one of their trunk shows. I had 2 shirts made during their 2 trunk shows ago. I love those Oxford shirts. So, but if you want, I also have another ready to wear from them. The Oxford shirts fit really good. This really isn't a sponsored ad. I'm very picky with how it fits because Ralph Lauren has been such a sellout lately. I'm sorry, I love Ralph Lauren, but they've been such a sellout lately. They've been doing way too slim sizes. They've been doing way too slim sizes with the torso, with the arms. So even if I order a size, I'm usually a size small with them because they're American sizing. But with their size small, it's too tight. With their size medium, I'm too big. So with Individualized, it offers the right balance. And the closest American equivalent to them is J Press. So besides that, sorry, I'm such a J Press fanboy. I have to promote their other products, like their sweaters. So if you aren't aware, the Shetland Dog Sweater is an Ivy League essential. It's basically a fuzzy crew neck sweater, which is made out of this fuzzy wool material. And J Press has really banked on this. That's what I love about them. They have not changed throughout the years. They've really banked on tradition. You could say they're a bit laos, but they've done well. They've done well with people who actually care about the style.
Anton, you're talking about a 99-year-old brand. My God.
I know, exactly. Dude, they cater to the bookstores of Yale, Harvard. I mean, like, how Ivy can you get?
That's something.
So I just want to promote J Press. This isn't sponsored at all. I'm not affiliated with it in any way, but I love J Press. So Lately, it's been J Press.
To
I get
J-Press.
a few of my essentials to J Press. I get a few of my essentials from Ralph Lauren just because I love Ralph Lauren. I love his concept. I love his idea. Other brands, I would say like LL Bean.
Yep.
LL Bean. I wasn't able to talk about this earlier, but so for a lot of people, Ivy style is about dressing up. Ivy style is about being presentable. Um, for me, the reason why I love the Ivy style is it's because it was able to give me an avenue to dress down. I wear Ivy style because I get to dress down. Because when I started dressing up in high school and in college, I wanted to be the GQ guy. I wanted to wear suits. I wanted to wear the nice sport coat. I wanted to wear the nice shoes. But that's not my lifestyle. My lifestyle is I go hiking. I cook. I go to farms. You don't wear fucking Alden penny loafers. I went to a river the other day and I wore my Alden penny loafers and fuck, they got dirty.
Yeah, what's up with that? I saw
Take
that.
off with a cloth. You need to freaking send them to Signet and get like a restoration. Like I don't want to afford that right now. I want to wear shoes that suit my lifestyle. So Ivy style, if you look beyond the tailored, the prim and proper aspect of it, it's actually very relaxed. And I want to talk about that. Um Ivy style, preppy style is about leisure. You have the time to afford leisurely activities like hiking. You have the time to afford leisurely activities like sailing, like going to the beach, like I don't know, like how do you spend your free time? How do you go on vacation? I recently I wanna sorry Don. I know you asked this question a while ago and I wasn't able to answer it.
Oh no, it's a
But I want to talk from my perspective as well. So a few years ago, I used to work for Signet. I was their social media manager and I also did visual merchandising for them. And I also had to be in store. So that meant I had to present myself well. I had to wear good clothes. It also so happened that the shop was also air conditioned, so I could wear whatever I wanted. And we'd have these trunk shows where I would wear suits, and I would take advantage of these trunk shows to wear these suits because I don't wear suits every day. So um, going from that very city lifestyle, I also used to go out a lot. I was such a city boy before. I would wear navy blazers. I would wear my loafers. I would wear my brogues, loafers, Oxford shirts, ties. I would wear ties on a normal day because I could, because that's what the store required me to do. And then I moved. I moved out from Manila. I went to the province. I went to the province where I'm from. I started a little food business. I'm into food, which is what I'm really into. And unfortunately, with food, you don't really get to dress up a lot. I mean, on a normal day, I wear like a gray t-shirt. I wear my shorts. I wear my boat shoes. I wear my Cody moccasins. I wear my Jacques Purcell sneakers or the Doak sneakers that I got from Signet. It's very casual. It's very relaxed. I need these pieces to move around. I need these pieces to adapt to this lifestyle. And I feel like with whatever lifestyle you're going for, you need to pay attention to that because you want to wear suits. You want to wear the best Italian suits. But if your lifestyle says that you don't wear that every day, what are you gonna do with that? I have a I have a beautiful gray suit from Rain Jacket and I love it, but I don't get to wear it every day. So what value does that entail for me? What value does that dictate for whatever I'm gonna buy? So right now I've really been into like Oxford shirts.
If I may interject, for the most part, Oxford shirts you mentioned before. If I can reiterate to all the attendees, when you're buying Oxford shirts, if you want to be as classic as you want, you have to get them medyo blousy. So
Okay.
yeah, a bit,
So
a bit sized.
you guys have to note that a lot of brands want to cater to the modern taste. And the
Yeah.
modern taste right now is slim fit. The modern taste is slim fit. Let me just stress that out to everybody. Everybody wants slim fit. But that's not the Ivy way.
No.
It's not the preppy way.
No.
You want blousy.
Mm.
You want
The regular cuts.
you want the things that your dad gave you.
You know, Anton, it's like wearing a pair of swim shorts and wear your Oxfords on top of it. You don't want a tight, slim fit shirt.
Exactly.
You want something loose on top of it, and you can wear it anywhere. I can wear it to the beach.
I've gone to the beach in an Oxford shirt that was too
Exactly.
tight. Fine, it looks good when you're taking a photo for Instagram. Fine, your body looks nice. But when you're actually moving around in the beach and you're actually living your life, fuck. That Oxford shirt, that slim Oxford shirt doesn't mean nothing. You want something that
The blousier, the better.
moving.
Yeah. Because the Oxford shirt.
Don, I think we need to answer a question that's been running around. Is that we're talking about Americana here.
Mm-hmm.
What are the European brands that fit into this lifestyle? I mean, you know, a good friend of ours is Berman, and he's going into his Breton look, right? He's going to his striped shirt look. I mean, what are the brands, or not brands, but looks? I don't want to go to brands because brands are so stifling. I would rather go into the looks that present a certain feel to our style, to what we like. I mean, obviously, St. James has been there forever.
Oh yeah.
I wore a St. James jacket. That Margie has the same cardigan. We bought it 25 years ago, and we didn't even know what St. James was.
Mm-hmm.
She's wearing a St. James shirt that was like a dress shirt, which is 20 years old. You know, it's like you don't know. I didn't even know that St. James was famous until I started seeing it in Signet. That we would buy it because it was so nice. You know, and the quality. I think that is where we need to help people in understand, because we're so Americana focused. If you had to choose looks, and I would just throw off certain looks that work for anybody. Of course, a wax jacket will always be something that is important. It is not intrinsically American. A striped shirt, a bateau, meaning the French look, a pair of moleskin, slim fit, slimmer moleskin French or British type slacks, which are part of their their Navy, which is they've adapted. And then the shoes, I'm not too sure. Anton, can you help me on this?
Monchet, I'd like to go back to the other question. He asked if Crappy or Ivy style was look or brand based.
Go.
I have full conviction that it is fully look based. Something that a lot of us have dealt with are finding brands that suit our style. So I just like to talk about this from my experience. I've always liked clothes. I haven't always been the most knowledgeable about clothes, but when I started getting into clothes, I went to the most accessible. I went to Zara. I went to Topman. I went to H&M. I wanted these high street brands because they've marketed themselves in a way that is so accessible. And you can't blame them for that because that is the way they market themselves. And if they're gonna put out, if Zara is gonna put out a cable knit sweater that is almost exactly like the one that you see in a Ralph Lauren ad, why are you not gonna buy for it for a fraction of the price? Right? So so that's what that's where I went, that's where I started. I started buying a lot of high street brands because I felt that could give me the most satisfaction. I felt that could give me the most accuracy in terms of nailing the look that I wanted. But as I grew up, as I started delving into detail, as I started delving into history, I learned that, like it it really it really pays to spend a little more for quality pieces from reputable brands.
Mhm.
And I don't want to say that I'm brand biased, but it just turns out that certain brands really cater to what I'm looking for. If certain brands cater to what you look for, then why would you turn that down? For example, J Press. Ralph Lauren is a designer brand that everyone knows, and I love Ralph Lauren. But J Press does their Oxford shirts a little bit better. J Press has stuck to that Ivy League aesthetic for as long as they could. Why would I turn that down? They are a bit pricier than RL, I will admit to that, but at the end of the day, I spend this much to get this much. And J Press gives me that quality. J Press gives me that product, and I feel like with a lot of other brands, you can find that. You just need to know what you want, and you just need to find a brand that caters to that. So if you want the classic preppy Ivy brands, fine. J Press, Ralph Lauren, J Crew, um, Marie's Toggery, Brooks Brothers. Those are classic Ivy League prep brands. But at the end of the day, what do you want? And how does that translate to your lifestyle? That's something that you need to consider before buying an investment piece.
I agree. Actually, if I may go back, Sir Jericho, if I may ask, what would you say? I mean, I know right off the bat, rowing blazers for sure. Am I right? What would
Oh
you say
yeah.
are your favorite brands, favorite type?
But basically, ano lang naman ako pare. RL,
Hmm.
um, for sure LL Bean, and then there's J Crew where I get most of my stuff.
Hmm.
Right now, a few from Rowing Blazers, and I don't know if people have heard about how do you pronounce his name? Kyle James Patrick, KJP.
JP!
Yep. So those are the main brands. Actually, again,
Venus Canton,
nothing too high end.
Canton.
What?
Wala. TV ka na.
KJP. Ikaw, Sam, what would you say is your top IV brands?
Top IV brands. Well, Anton covered a lot. You know, as much as much as I don't like I don't want this symposium to be like one big Signet advertisement, no? I mean, that's just the
Here we go.
outcome when you're a well knowledgeable haberdashery and you have the knowledge to get the top brands. I mean, you just can't help suggesting because I'm trying to avoid making this symposium look like one big commercial for Signet. I mean, kudos to them because as much as possible, I wanted people to fall in love with the idea of Ivy Style, to fall in love with the brands.
Thank you.
I admire brands like Alden, uh, which again, Signet carries, big surprise, because first and foremost, they're all about comfort and durability. And in the essence of Ivy style in collegiate wear, you need a pair of shoes that were smart, comfy, and you could wear and beat up until they were worn to the ground, but still be constructed well enough that they could be resold. And Alden just, checks all the boxes, ticks all the boxes. I also would recommend, like Monchet's favorite, the Barber Jacket. Big surprise, Signet carries it as well. Because I love it in the sense it's accurate to the IV canon, the IV top brands. At the same time, function wise, it's a great travel jacket, man. I mean, I go every time I travel to a different country, you could bet that that Barbour jacket is definitely in there. It keeps me warm, keeps me dry, and all those pockets are really helpful. Um, Going back to the question, actually, this has been bugging me since it showed up. Brands overlook. I mean, it's always like Anton said, it always been look. Historically, Richard Press in some talks would even say that whatever J Press and Brooks Brothers released back in the day, not everything in that collection will be sold. It's only whatever these trends or these student style dictate. So it's never been about brands. It's always been about style and look. Um, and to make you fall in love with the brand, it's hard to defend why you should buy a $300 Oxford button shirt to someone when there is something in their eyes that looks exactly the same in Uniqlo for what, $20, $25, as compared.
1,200 pare.
Yeah, but you're at that range. So how do you defend a $300 Oxford button down that looks exactly the same? And it's because you go for that because you love the brand, you love the style, you love authenticity. I'm gonna go back to my hobby again with classic cars. Why do I drive something that doesn't have power steering, that doesn't have power windows, that doesn't have air conditioning, doesn't even have seat belts, for God's sake? Why do I drive it? It's because I love it. I love the experience. I love the authenticity. And I see to it as an homage to the past, which I really admire. But again, since I mentioned homage and somebody brought up the Anglo-Saxon factor of it, I love the past minus the politics. You know what I mean? I love the aesthetic. I don't want in this. Okay, I'll just browse through this quickly. In this PC politically correct world, I just like to go out and say I love the classic style minus the politics. It's just the aesthetic of it. I understand the context behind it, why they wear it, but that doesn't guarantee that those are my personal views. You know what I mean? But yeah, again, you fall in love with things, man. You don't buy this shirt just because the chest pocket has a certain shape of flap as compared to the others, just because the brand dictates it. No, you do it because you love it. It's an homage to authenticity. It represents like a certain aesthetic that you like. So top brands really. I think I drifted way too far from the original topic, no. But yeah. Dami na kasi sinabi ni Anton kanina eh. So I couldn't think of anything more.
If I may, if you would allow the eldest member of the group to say this, you know, Euro style is where I'm born from. I'm not American style. I've never been American style. I mean, I grew up that way, but it's really because as I said earlier, my father's Spanish, so it's really very very. So brands, and we traveled quite a lot in my work. We traveled quite a lot to Cannes for the film festival because we would buy movies and TVs in my previous life, which I do not regret. Uh, okay, it's like there are brands there that that have been there for a long time. You have brands like Fasonob, right? That Nordstrom carries. And people give it a second look. There was a Fasonob craze for a while in the mid 90s that people have set aside. I still have my Fasonob double-breasted blazer. When Eddie first saw me wearing a double-breasted blazer in chinos, I was wearing a Fasonob blazer. I still have it, and I can wear it. It was when I was kind of like on the pudgy side. So there's Fasonob, there is Orcival, there is St. James, there is Margie. What was it? I have to ask my wife. There's Blanc Blue. Margie, it was Blanc Blue, no? That Black Blue, Blanc Blue, which was their like Gap, which had everything in blue and blue and white. There were jeans, t-shirts, and everything. I mean, there's quite a lot of pieces. There were shoes like Jacques, which reinvented the boat shoe for yachting in Cannes. I mean, you don't wear these Sperry topsiders on a 90-foot azimuth. You're right. You wear fancy shoes that look like moccasins. You still take it out, but you look halfway decent. It's like you're still going to a party. So the European take on style is extremely very difficult. But we must admit, and I agree totally with Anton, is that the Europeans take it from the Americans. I mean, we just the Europeans just take it a little notch tighter. You'll have the like you're wearing a what are you wearing, Sam? It's a tweed jacket, right?
Yeah.
It's a gray tweed jacket, notched lapel, right? With
Mhm.
with
Three buttons.
buttonair, three buttons with a buttonair.
Yeah.
A European would take the same thing in a lighter fabric, still tweed, since they weave their own fabric.
And cut the silhouette tighter.
Yeah,
Correct?
yes, it is slightly tighter, but still allows the Italian punch, which is my problem. And I think, like many of our clients,
Spezzatura.
yeah, that Signet does not cater to, the bigger titos. Joke, Eddie, don't get mad at me. The bigger titos who actually kind of are beyond size 54. Uh, but 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 the pre-orders allow us to do it. I mean, a vino, for example, is a typical example of a Saharian that fits well. Uh, but you see, what I'd like to say is that the question that was thrown earlier: are there brands that want to give you an ID style to European? Of course there are, but it is a different lifestyle. You don't live in Brittany, so you don't wear bateau, bateau, what do you call it? Bateau collars, which is very Filipinos are not comfortable with. We're very American. So an ascot, for example, I wear it because my father taught me how to wear it. And this is, by the way, from Signet by Kenji.
Yeah. Actually, Mon, I wouldn't wear an ascot.
Yeah.
It depends on the person.
Mm. Sometimes the clothes really just choose you.
Makapal ang mukha ko pare.
Oh, Don, one more thing. One more brand. One more brand pala.
Yeah, yes, sir, Jer.
For me, for the shoes, it's GH Bass, the Wegians.
Oh,
I
Wegians,
think,
yeah.
it's not low end, it's not high end. It's just all right. More or less, it's $110. So more or less, that's around 6,000 pesos. You get a well-crafted quality loafers. It's not Aldens or Trickers or Churches, but you can use it every day, and it's not heavy on the pocket.
Jericho, my first pair of I would say Ivy shoes was a pair of GH Bass driving loafers.
And it's historically accurate.
I remember when I got them, I was so happy. So
Yeah.
still
Because me up to now, honestly, I've I haven't stopped buying Bass loafers.
shoes.
I think I have around 60 or 70 of them.
For the most part,
But it works. It works for me. So it
any
works.
moccasin is good.
Yeah.
Actually, if I can add to that question, I think if I were to recommend one brand, I think it's Individualized Shirts, because the staple that is OCBD can't get away from that, and Individualized really makes the best. But if you can afford Individualized, I think Uniqlo's a good alternative.
Muji.
Yeah,
Muji, pare.
Muji
It's
is
a good
yeah.
alternative.
But my problem lang with Muji, I love the fabric, but it's the color's still a bit too small. But Uniqlo did release a line of OCBDs lately na mas malaki na yung color, so that's good. They're progressing in terms of classic style. Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah, one thing about the Uniqlo. Actually, a friend asked me about this. My entry level stuff. What I find funny with Uniqlo is whatever the look. If you want to go for more of a dated, older look, whatever your size is with Uniqlo, get the next size. You know what I mean? Like if you're normally a large, try on the extra large. That's like a budget hack that I learned from someone, and it totally changed my life, man. Like even their vintage cut chinos, they're not exactly vintage. They're a little too tapered to my taste. But when I went to the next size, it's like the perfect balance. Oh, pwede na. It's like that's not bad. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. Well, to end on that note, because we have to wrap up. I'm sorry.
Don, there's another question.
Amazing.
Wow.
Since
Japanese IV.
Japanese IV.
Japanese IV.
Oh, Japanese.
Any brands now that you
Okay.
can recommend? Wait, I have to
Before
think.
that, can we explain, Sam, we talked about this. Can you please explain Japanese ID? The term, what it is, so at least people understand
Ametora.
Japanese ID, because it's very, very unique.
Okay, so I'll try. Don, I can see Don really wants to finish this up because we've run past our time.
Oh,
But let
no,
me.
it's just ending at 7.
Okay. So I'll be quick about this. So Japanese IV. The IV style arrived in Japan around the 60s. Post war, and in 64, the magazine. I'm gonna go check my little cheat sheet here. The magazine Hey Punch featured articles, and this was the Japanese's first exposure with IV style, and they just love it. So the brand that everybody needs to know about is Van Jacket. They were the first retailer. Yeah, Van Jacket was the first retailer to bring in all these IV brands, and people went crazy about it. So these were during the times of baby boomers, and they were trying to struggle to find their identity because their parents were a little, square and very plain. Yeah, so when they saw these IV styles from the West, they fell in love with it. The Van Jacket, if I'm not mistaken, the store was around in Miyuki Street. And people who dressed up an IV actually hung out in Miyuki Street, and they gained the nickname Miyuki Zoku, which means like Zoku is a term for like a group, a certain social club or status. So they call these people, Japanese kids who dressed up IV as Miyuki Zoku, or the squads who hung out in Miyuki Street. And funny fact that I mentioned earlier, IV style in the West was seen as posh and prim and proper. But in Japan, wearing IV style is actually a sign of rebellion. People actually thought that these were, the parents, the very conservative parents of the Japanese thought that these were beatniks, and they actually banned them from wearing these IV styles. So what the kids would do is they would leave school in their school uniforms, and they would hide all their IV clothes in brown paper bags, rolled up brown paper bags. And once they get out of school, once they leave the house, they would go to the nearest cafe and change in the bathroom and go hang out in Miyuki Street. Now, this gained popularity because during the 1964, this was the start of the Japanese. No, this was the start of the Olympics, and Japan was holding it then. So the Japanese government was eager to show the world the new Japan post-war, from their bad reputation from the World War. So there was a huge propaganda of taking out garbage, the homeless. They were trying to beautify Japan, and that included like a Japanese person wearing Western style is seen as unpatriotic to them. So it was heavily frowned upon that they actually banned van jacket. If they see a kid carrying a van jacket paper bag in public, they would actually ban them from entering certain establishments and see them as rebels. So the trend of Ivy style has roots there, and the difference with Ivy style in Japan now is Japan is heavily influenced with this very fantasy world of Americana cultures. Everything great about Americana culture is transferred to them. It's as if they're cosplaying as Americans in a sense. You know what I mean? So this was back then. Japanese Ivy now is more of a amazing is a far cry. There are the purists, but there are those who have been influenced by this amikaji style. So American-ish style, is very influenced. You see people in Osaka's Amerikamura or Tokyo's Ueno mixing all these Americana styles, but heavily Ivy influence. You would see someone in a navy blazer with gold buttons and a regimental striped tie, but they would be wearing this with P13 military trousers and then full strap loafers. So Japanese Ivy is actually a very, very complex thing that is another deep rabbit hole that I am slowly sinking into at the moment. And I don't want to ramble on, so I'm just gonna cut it there. I'll just leave it up to the viewers to jump into that rabbit hole themselves.
Actually, thank you,
For
Steve.
the brands, if I may add, Don,
Yes, Sir Jericho.
for the brands, thing Medrano was asking, for the brands I can recommend, well, if you can try United Arrows or Beams or Journal Standard. Those are the shops that you can go to when you go to Japan, and they have
Beams
the other
Plus.
stuff like, yeah, like Explorer Japan and the others. But if you want purely or Japanese based, United Arrows, Journal Standard, and Beams would be good.
Thank you, Sir Jericho. If I may ask the attendees, would anyone else like to ask a question? Anybody? Let me scan it real quick. Okay, last one. Has anyone tried the OCBDs from Kamakura Shoe?
Yes, I have.
How is it? It's a verdict.
I recently bought some. So I have a friend who works there, and you need to get your exact measurements right because they cater to a bunch of different measurements. So they have their New York Classic, they have their New York Fit, they have their Tokyo Classic and their Tokyo Fit. So beyond all that, all you have to do is just get your measurements for your shoulder, the torso, your arms, your sleeve length, and then just find the shirt that you want. I recently got 2 shirts from them, and so far they've been great. If you want any more information on how to order from them, just feel free to DM me. But yeah, they're very easy to order from. Just be very specific with what you want because they're not gonna give you the the information that you want right away.
All right. As the last question, Joseph Garcia asked, when you wear Ivy clothing, what message are you trying to convey? This is for everyone.
Can I start?
Yes, go ahead, Tito.
You know what? Seth, you know me. I'm iconoclastic. I don't really care. I just wear what I want to wear. I mean, it's a certain
Correct.
style, it's a certain way of dressing. And by chance, it's in that Ivy thing. You will not catch me in joggers and in Supreme. You will not get. You will catch me in a 20-year-old T-shirt or so. I mean, I think we need to really. The whole purpose of this discussion was for us to elucidate people on the concept of Ivy style and how it intersperses in our lifestyle. But for me, I don't want to say anything. You are who you are. It doesn't matter how you dress. At the end of the day, it's really a matter of your who you are as a person.
Mhm.
Actually, I just put on this
Correct.
jacket just for the sake of this damn Zoom thing. You know, I mean, it's just a matter of it's showbiz, man. I mean, but I would wear this to a Signet
Yeah.
dinner, right? With cream pants, right, and Stubbs and Wooton or Belgian loafers. I would wear it with a bow tie, but it's just for now. I mean boxer shorts under this. So I mean, to answer your question, is that it's who you are, who you are.
Mhm.
You can be whatever you want to be.
Okay. Can I be
Mhm.
next?
Of course.
Um, yeah. I'm 100% agreeing with what Monchet said. Um, when I dress up every day, I my point is I dress up because this is how I want to look. I don't dress up uh caring about what other people will say. It's just so fortunate that I chose this kind of style, which is the ivy preppy. But you know, um, again, as I've said, for me, the style is timeless. So it saves you money, and honestly, the nice thing about it is that it's not everyone yet who wears or who dresses up like this. That's why for me, it's something nice. It's not like again, I'm not against streetwear, but it's not like streetwear wherein everyone tries to wear that every day. And again, as I've said, I'll stick with this, like with this kind of dressing up.
You,
That's
Sam.
it.
My turn? Is it my turn?
Yes, Sam.
All right. So, what message are you trying to convey? Um, Nothing really, because I don't dress to convey a message, but I have been given compliments that uh, I've been given a compliment by someone, and she said that it's nice to see someone dress up in a dress down world or in a dress down society. So it's sort of the message that is being conveyed is more of a side effect, if you know what I mean. um if you look at it, I think of it in a way that if you're with someone you love, oh, here's the romantic in me now. If you're holding hands with that person you love in public, you're not doing that to tell everybody that you love that person. Because if you do that, saying that you love that person, you're doing it for them. You're not doing it for you. You're not doing it for you, which is, the point that I'm trying to talk about. If you constantly try to dress for others, you're never going to be happy. So I constantly dress for myself, which is sort of like I don't really care what you think, to an extent, to other people think to an extent. The message that's being trying to convey is more of a side effect, and I'm quite happy that coincidentally the message being conveyed is positive. So that's a good that's a good outcome. So yeah, I guess that's it.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. To end on that note, actually that wraps up our Q&A. Wait. To wrap up our Q&A, I'd like to thank everyone. First by attending our symposium. Of course, this is just the first of many of our symposium or Menswear Symposium series. This one tackles lifestyle. We're planning another one which tackles sartorial dressing. Yeah, to be announced later on next week. One more thing. I wanted to end this by. Let me just set this up. Hold on, I need to zoom, remove spotlight. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone for attending and to thank everyone. We'd like to announce something we've been planning for a while, our first ever Signet sale. Now we're launching it this April 5 and yeah, it will run for a cumulative amount of 48 hours, during which time everything on the at least everything on the web store will be sold for 30% off. So
Wow,
yeah, 30%.
nice.
2 days only. We're never gonna do it again. Maybe. No, never. This is the only one. So I'd like to give everyone a code. So it's only 48 hours. It's a flash sale. I'd like to give everyone a code. That Signet Anib 6 years. You can input that at checkout. It gives
Wait,
you.
I have to take a picture of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go.
I am writing that down.
Yeah, so this code for everyone who's attending Signet Anib 6 years, that gives you early access to the sale. So it'll start for you guys at least with the code April 4, 1 p.m. You have a full 12 hours of head start with everyone before we properly announce it. So yeah, that's it. Actually,
Is
one
the
more thing.
delivery for free, Don?
The delivery is not free, sadly, Sir Jericho.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And can we, buy it online and get it from you guys?
Yeah, you can. Can naman. Wait lang. Hold on. So one more thing I'd like to. Wait lang. Trish. So I'd like to, if I can bother everyone, if we can take a group photo to commemorate our first ever, ano. So if I could have you guys turn on the camera if you can for this group photo, real quick. All right. Wait, hold on. You have the speakers. Say Ivy.
Ivy.
Print screen. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll announce our next one soon. Thank you.